Welcome to Sleepyville, where no one sleeps deeply. The pillows are bad and the sheets are made cheaply. But there is one family in the Sleepyville town that uses my pillow for the best sleep around. My pillows are adjustable for proper alignment, and the Giza sheets breathe so they feel no confinement. So order my pillow for great sleep refinement.
Why are they so chipper?
Their co-workers wondered.
So much energy and zest, like they've had the best slumber.
And when they peeked in the window, the secret was clear. My pillow sheets, pillows, and mattress toppers appeared. My pillow is breathable and lasts more than 10 years. It's washable and dryable and was manufactured right here. Giza cotton is what makes the softest of sheets, and the mattress topper helps support pressure points for deep, dreamy sleep. So click the link below to stop counting sheep.
We want my pillow!
The citizens of Sleepyville cried, but they didn't realize the family had a surprise inside. They were all given a My Pillow to keep. We spend a third of our life snoozing, so let's make it quality sleep.
I got towels too.
And mine are blue.
So welcome to my Pillowville, where everyone sleeps on the pillows that align and the softest of sheets. With the support of the mattress topper, the people snooze deep and wake up well rested, and their deadlines they keep. So if your bed feels like rocks and your sheets feel like Brillo, you need better sleep, which means you need my pillow. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, click the button. I'm tired of rhyming, so please click it and save me. Please, I can't rhyme anymore. Just click that link. Stop watching this and click the link to get the best sleep of your life.
Hi, everyone. We're back with Representative Jake Hoffman, Jim Hoff from the Gateway Pundit, and Patty McMurray of 100%. We interviewed Jake Hoffman earlier about what was happening in Arizona with the election audit, and we're back with Jake after last development to talk to him about what's happening in Arizona, and maybe Jake, you can explain to our followers who have only been looking at the dishonest mainstream media what happened yesterday in the Arizona audit, the bombshell update.
I'm happy to do it. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. So I'm actually going to pull up my notes here so that I can make sure that I hit this, because what we're talking about happening yesterday, and it was really last night, to be quite honest. I mean, it didn't get released until about 6:30 p.m. Arizona time, which is almost 10 o'clock East Coast. And what we're talking about is the Senate President Karen Fann sent a letter to the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors based off of a number of findings that they've come across. Those findings, so some of these are just behavioral issues that they've dealt with. So ongoing non-compliance with legislative subpoenas. So what does that mean? That means that right now, the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors is refusing to produce virtual images of the routers, okay? Now, the Senate has been abundantly professional and exceedingly so, actually, to be very honest. And they even offered in this letter, they said, you know what, we don't buy your answer as to why we can't have these virtual images, but what we'll do is we'll send our team, our professionals, our hired consultants to come to the county and access them in your people's supervision, so that there's no seepage of data, so that there's no issues with regards to information that shouldn't be disclosed or shouldn't be accessed by these parties. Because what the county's claiming is that they have commingled law enforcement data, individuals' private health data, and election data all in the same system. And the Senate President rightly calls them out and says, if your response to not giving us access is really true and accurate, that is more concerning than your lack of giving us access, right? To commingle that type of data together. So that's one issue with ongoing non-compliance. The other is refusal to remit passwords to some of the machines. So we talked a little bit about this a couple days ago, but they are refusing to give over administrative passwords and claiming that they don't have the passwords. Which is a huge issue, obviously, that they would have a multi-million-dollar contract with a voting machine system and not have the passwords to access those machines and do their jobs as a county, right? So that's one. Two, chain of custody and ballot anomalies. This one is highly concerning. No chain of custody documentation for the ballots has been provided by the county. So under law, and I believe both federal and state law, they are required to at least certify that they had a chain of custody process in place. And right now, no documentation has been provided. Another thing is unsealed ballot bags. So right now, you're supposed to have tamper-proof tape on these ballot containers. And we're finding that there are bags of ballots and boxes of ballots that have no tamper-proof tape whatsoever. Some of them have just regular tape, like Scotch tape, sealing these, which is clearly not a proper way to treat something as important as a ballot. And then ballot batches commingled is another issue that we've run across. So consider, you're supposed to have batches of ballots sorted and then have paperwork, documentation attached to those so that you know what's in each batch, why, how many, what they say, etc. Well, what we're finding is that in many cases, they have just paper dividers between batches of ballot with no corresponding documentation. And in some cases, they don't even have the divider. They don't even have the flimsy paper divider. They're just commingled together, which, I mean, from an audit perspective, makes it an absolute cluster. But more importantly, from a professionalism standpoint, it shows that the county recorder under Democrat recorder Adrian Fontes was running an absolute disastrous election protocol within their house. And this one may be, from a chain of custody standpoint, this may be the most significant finding. A significant number of instances in which there is a disparity between the actual number of ballots in the batches, right, in the batch, and the total denoted on what's called the pink slip. And that's a reporting slip that is supposed to accompany each batch. And what we're finding is that in many cases, the number on the pink slip, now keep in mind, they go through, they compile all of the ballots, right? They count the ballots, then they put them in these batches, and then they report on what's in those batches. What we're finding is that the numbers on the pink slip are higher than the number of ballots that are actually in the batches. And that's very concerning. Now, it's not conclusive, but it is incredibly concerning. And again, goes to the unprofessionalism of the Maricopa County election system. Now, the last thing that I want to bring up, this is the third finding that's denoted in this letter. And I'm going to read this one verbatim because this is absolutely shocking. So the entire database directory from the D drive of the machine entitled EMS primary has been deleted. Now, EMS stands for Election Management System. So the entire database directory from the D drive of the machine, EMS primary, has been deleted. Now, what I'm hearing is that that was deleted approximately 10 days prior to the machines being given over to the Senate. Now that is, if that's true, and we talked about this last time when we spoke, but in virtually every, if you ask any good attorney, if you get a preservation of documents request from someone who is considering suing you or is in litigation with you, and you start to delete documents after you've been told to preserve them, you are guaranteed, I mean, nearly guaranteed to lose that lawsuit, even if you're in the right, because what you did makes you look like you're in the wrong. And that's really what we're seeing here, is that apparently 10 days prior or thereabouts, they started deleting records from these machines. I got one other piece. In addition, the main database for the election management system software called, quote, results, tally, and reporting is not located anywhere on the EMS primary machine, even though all of the EMS clients reference that machine as the location of the database. This suggests that the main database for all election-related data from the November 2020 general election has been removed. Now, again, guys, it's not, I'm not the expert here. I'm not, a forensic analyst, but what I can tell you is from a lay perspective, from the perspective of myself as a legislator, this raises serious concerns. And it goes to show that we have to step up. We have to continue this audit, and we have to make sure that we get to the bottom of the chicanery and the obstruction of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors.
Amazing.
Jake, I have a quick.
I was going to jump in with two questions, Jake. Thank you, Patty. One is, this was certified by, of course, Katie Hobbs, the Secretary of State, and the Governor, Ducey. In fact, it was certified the same day they were having these hearings with Rudy Giuliani in the state. And so I'm wondering, does that put them, I mean, certainly it kind of goes back on them. They were supposed to ensure that this was a free and fair and safe and legal election. We're seeing now that didn't happen. The other thing is, and there's lots of questions here, but has law enforcement, at what point do you bring in law enforcement? At what point are charges made against these supervisors? So maybe you have some idea what's going on there.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll hit those in two parts. So the first part, Katie Hobbs and Governor Ducey. So Katie Hobbs is tasked under Arizona law with certifying the election. The governor observes the certification and signs off that it occurred. Okay. So Katie Hobbs, absolutely. I mean, look, the legislature called for Katie Hobbs to decertify the election results due to these irregularities and inconsistencies back as far back as December, right? And I was a party to that. I mean, I actively led the charge in Katie Hobbs, you need to decertify so that we can understand what happened, so that we can conduct an audit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Katie is a radical leftist. I mean, she has been. Keep in mind, this is the same woman that a year ago, she referred to about 40%, 45% of Arizonans as neo-Nazis, right? She has absolutely no decorum. She's unprofessional. She's a leftist hack at best. And so, I don't expect her, just candidly, I don't expect her to do the right thing. And that's a sad state of affairs that's where we're at. Now, right. Remind me your other question there.
And then at what point do you bring in law enforcement or legal challenges against these people?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, we have lawful subpoenas from the Senate to the Board of Supervisors. And so your question is apropos. I mean, it's perfectly placed. Where do we bring in law enforcement? I think you have to have a majority vote of the Senate to pursue any type of actual law enforcement action against the Board of Supervisors. Now, what makes that a challenge is that you have Republican members of the Senate. So we're a 1-vote majority Senate and a 1-vote majority House. So that means that essentially any Republican member has veto power. And so what we're finding is that we do have a member or two in the Senate that, they supported doing the audit. They supported the original subpoenas, et cetera. When it comes to actually arresting Board of Supervisors, they get squishy, right? Sure. And that's the unfortunate thing, that whether it's a friendship with a member of the board or whether it's just a lack of backbone, I don't know. But that's why thus far there hasn't been any law enforcement intervention.
Yeah. And certainly these were criminal acts. This is beyond something, a clerical mistake or something at this point. We're seeing a lot of things that happen that could be criminally charged, you would think.
Well, certainly on the deletion of records. Now, assuming that they're not hiding them in some, access level that we don't have the administrative password to, right? I mean, there is that possibility that they exist, but they're simply behind some firewall that we don't have the passwords to yet, right? But the deletion of database records and directories absolutely seems like that. I mean, how is that not intentional, right? When it comes to the chain of custody issues, I mean, this honestly to me shows that they're an absolute disaster when it comes to running elections. And, that's incompetence, negligence, whatever you want to call it. It's just not a good situation for the state of Arizona.
Yeah, speaking of Katie Hobbs, I wanted to read a tweet that she put out in regards to what's happening with the audit. This is the first tweet she put out. I've been working hard to keep Arizona off the late night comedy shows, but at Jordan Klepper and The Daily Show had other ideas. And then she shows a video. And then she says, of course, what's happening with the Arizona GOP, and then she calls it a fraudit, is absurd and comical, but it's also dangerous. As long as this continues, I'll keep fighting to share the truth with Arizonians and to defend our elections. To which Kelly Ward, Dr. Kelly Ward, the chair of the GOP in Arizona, responded, to her credit, Katie is a liar. This is America's audit. It's kind of sick that she, as an election official, finds potential fraud in our election system comical, she puts in quotes. Her rhetoric and that of those like her is what's dangerous to America. And she's correct. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. You should want free and fair elections in this country.
Right. Well,
to me, it's incredible that she's making a joke of this, or that she's trying to make a joke of it, because it's deadly serious. I mean, what's happening there, what's being uncovered, is just incredible. I think many Americans that really know what's going on are in shock over this right now.
Yeah, I agree. And look, it used to be a broadly unifying issue. Election security and preserving voter confidence has been a rallying cry since, the early days in our country, right? When the founding fathers were working on building consensus to support the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence before that. I mean, we've been working at this for over 200 years. And, right now we're seeing that the left is making an absolute mockery of election integrity and election security. And the only people that are spreading conspiracy theories and misinformation, disinformation are Democrats like Katie Hobbs. She does not represent the majority of Americans when she says stuff like that. This is something that we've argued as Republicans in every single election integrity bill that we've put forward this year, is that election integrity does not help Republicans. It likewise doesn't help Democrats, and it likewise doesn't help independents. It helps everybody. It helps everybody equally, because when we have a secure election, when we have the ability to understand what happened in an election so that we can make wise decisions moving forward, that is a nonpartisan issue. It's not bipartisan. It's not partisan. It's nonpartisan. That helps every single one of us.
Amen. And something, I'm so glad you brought that up, Jake, because what we have right now is a media, and we have a Democrat Party, the current Democrat Party, who does not believe in election integrity, does not believe in chain of custody with ballots at all, breaks the rules. We've written about this at Gateway Pundit, and Patty's written about it 100% fed up for months now. They did everything they could to break these rules. And yet we have the media pretending, like this was a free and fair election, and shaming anyone who dare brings up or questions these fraudulent and criminal actions we know now. I believe that happened during the election, and they just want Americans to just agree that this is something that we need to get used to, and this is a good thing. Just like their HR 1 that they're pushing through Congress, which makes all of these corrupt policies, makes it, they nationalize them. And but I don't think most Americans want that. I'm so glad you brought up that most Americans throughout history have agreed, whether party you happen to be in, that we want free elections and that we don't want cheating. It's just, it really is amazing what we're witnessing today.
And Jim, what makes it worse is that it's not just that the majority of Americans don't agree. That is absolutely true. But what it is the Democrats. So we had a bill here, Senate Bill 1452, which was honestly, it was an administrative cleanup of an active early voter list. And the Democrats kept arguing on the House floor that there was 81% of Arizonans across party lines, 81% agreed with them, and that the bill should be killed. That 81%, right. They kept hitting it over and over. Well, somebody sent me a copy of the actual question that they were asking in their poll, and they lied to get to 81%. And I called them out on the House floor, and I said, you cannot ask people a lie and expect to get an honest answer. Like, those two things are antithetical, but Democrats are willing to lie to get what they want. And that's what we all have to just understand. And the reality is that it's hard for people. It's hard for hardworking, everyday Americans, because when we see Democrats who are our neighbors, they're not liars. They're good people. right? They're regular people just like us, and their kids go to our schools and they go to our churches and they play little league or soccer or gymnastics or whatever it is with our kids, right? They're regular people. They're good people, okay? But it takes a very cynical heart to see what's happening in the ruling class elites of the Democratic Party, to see it for what it is and to understand that they are not your neighbor. Your neighbor is like you, but these people want to be your rulers. They want to be over you, and you have to be willing to see that. And it's a very hard thing for people to come to terms with.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. Jake, I have a question for you. You were talking about the data that had been deleted 10 days before. How did you find out, first of all, that it was deleted 10 days before? And had the subpoena already been issued when they deleted the information or the data?
So I'm still actually working to get the TikTok, the timeline of when the subpoena was actually delivered to them versus when the data was deleted. I'm not sure if it was as a preemptive, timing move, or whether it was after. So I can't give you a good answer on that one, unfortunately, but I have inquired on it and I am waiting to get an answer on that.
And as a follow-up question, how long does the state of Arizona have before they're allowed to delete that information? Don't they have to vet those files for a certain period of time?
Yeah, it's in the years, not months. So there is a preservation element, and it's standard record preservation stuff. Elections are one of those things that we want to keep those records, and so we keep those records for quite a long time.
And is there a possibility that there's a backup of that information that's been deleted?
I'm confident that that's something that the Senate is asking. So if you notice, I think you both have seen the letter. I think Gateway Pundit, you published the letter. And if you notice at the end of the letter, Senate President Fan invites the Board of Supervisors to the Capitol, right? Essentially summons them and says, come to the Capitol and answer these questions for us. And I would imagine that that will be one of the questions that gets asked when they're sitting there face to face. This is a situation where you've got to be willing to have direct conversations with these people and call them out, and then work towards a resolution, right? And to President Fan's credit, she wasn't unreasonable in her letter. This isn't a hey, come down here and you're gonna get whipped on the wrist, right? This was a come down here and let's figure out how do we get the information that we need so that we can continue with the audit. Because at the end of the day, I don't care about hurting the Board of Supervisors, right? Politically hurting the Board of Supervisors. If they do that to themselves, that's their choice. But what I care about is that we get to the bottom of what happened in 2020, that we're able to conduct an election audit. We get a report that's issued that's digestible and understandable, with findings similar to the letter that we got today, right? So that we as legislators can come back in January of 2022 and make tweaks to our election system so that we learn from what happened and don't allow it to occur again.
And then I just have one more question about the process, the ballots. When you mentioned that there were ballots on the pink slip, or a higher number of ballots, significantly higher number of ballots on the pink slip as there were inside the boxes or containers of ballots. Do you have any idea what that number is? When you say a significant number, is there a number that's being thrown around?
So Patty, they released a sample in the letter that showed examples of it was not comprehensive. And so I don't have access to that. I would imagine that is contained still with the consultants that the legislature has hired to conduct the audit. Again, we talked about this a couple days ago, that we want to do this in a way that allows voters to have confidence in the outcome of the audit, just like we would in the outcome of the election. And so we have been able to get some of this information released, like within the letter, but no, they have not released the entire comprehensive data set, plus minus on the pink slip. There were a few, just to be candid, there were a few that had, on the pink slip, had a less than what was in the actual ballot batch total. Not many, but those did exist as well. And so you would have to go through and comprehensively do the math to see, okay, what was the delta in aggregate?
It's just stunning that they, we saw some of the numbers, like you said in the letter, and it's just stunning that some are even up to 15% inaccurate, their numbers that they said were in the box. It's unbelievable. Have the Maricopa County officials responded, and has Karen Fan, has she set up a meeting yet with these supervisors?
Well, have they responded? Yes, they did. They didn't respond in the way that you would expect, right? The expected response would be a letter back or an email back from the chief of staff for the county board that says, yes, we'll see you at the meeting that you've requested. That wasn't what we got. What we got was just actually right before we jumped into this podcast, what we got was the Board of Supervisors did an emergency call for a meeting. And so they will be having an emergency meeting at 4 p.m. So in about 2 hours here in Maricopa County, they're going to have an emergency meeting. And what they did was they called the fact findings in the letter, quote unquote, accusations in their public call, right? And so it's clear that they are already moving into spin mode, and that we're going to get more of the political obfuscation and double talk that we've been getting in the past. I mean, just based on the very nature that they're characterizing a factual letter with actual information based off of the findings, and they're classifying them as accusations.
And then the meeting has not been set up yet with Karen Fan.
No, it has not. And look, they're going to get legal advice today in their meeting in a couple of hours. And my expectation is that we'll see some kind of public statement from the board after that meeting. And it will probably probably say why what's in this letter is wrong and inaccurate, and
right.
It will be another sparring match between the Senate and the
right.
board.
Well, we did see with their last emergency meeting, which I think was just last week or a week and a half ago, they did release a statement that afterwards it was up on the site somewhere. So that's interesting. But these aren't public meetings, is that correct? The Maricopa.
No, they well, okay. So the meeting itself is public. However, they will gavel in, then they will move into executive session where it's hidden from the public.
Okay. Yeah, I bet they're pretty nervous today for sure.
Yeah, I don't think they'd want to have that conversation in public.
Yeah, nice to have you back, Patty. I hope she can hear us. Yeah.
It's good to be back. I have no idea what happened, but somehow I got kicked off. Sorry about that.
Take a little break.
Yeah, just take a little break. I'm showing about as much interest in this podcast as Katie Hobbs is in the voter fraud in her state. So taking the same attitude, I'm just going to walk away.
One thing, Jake, we've seen nationally that with America's Audit, the left is covering this pretty extensively. CNN, MSNBC, of course, are smearing it. And we're not seeing much. I don't know if I've seen a single segment on Fox News about this. I don't think I've seen anything much even on Newsmax about this. So what is the local media like there in Arizona as far as this audit, and how are you guys getting the word out?
So what local media would be my first question. We have the Arizona Republic, which is a Gannett paper, and they are a far leftist outlet. I mean, the wild conspiracy theories that they try to spin are just truly over the moon. And so we have the Arizona Republic. We have a couple of very small leftist rags, and that's about it out here. I mean, we have local news, right? Channel 12, Channel 15, all of which are leftists. You may have seen Carrie Lake, who was a longtime anchor for Channel 10 News, recently quit because she said, I can't do this. I can't be asked to tell a lie and do it and misinform the people of Arizona. Wow. And so she actually quit like a 20-year anchor gig because she could not do what they wanted her to do. Amazing. And so the reality is, how do we get this out? Legislators have robust email lists, and we keep in contact with constituents. The party keeps in contact with constituents. Social media, when they allow it, right? The big tech overlords don't always allow it to go up. Mm-hmm. but yeah, I mean, it's really through the grassroots, and thanks to people like you and Breitbart and The Blaze and Daily Wire. It's the conservative new media that's really coming in to fill the void for truth and honesty in journalism. And so thank you guys for that. And thanks to all of those other outlets who are doing it. And, this is an interesting look. When I read a letter like this, that President Fan sends to the Board of Supervisors, and like, look, we all know that DC is corrupt. We all know that DC is ineffective and it's a dark place to operate, right?
Right.
The American people can see that. But when we see letters like this and we see that same darkness and that same corruption has come to our own backyard, right? This is something I found out years ago, almost a decade ago, when I ran for the school board. I wanted to run for the State House of Representatives, and my wife, who was a teacher, said, "Why don't you run for the school board?" And I said, education's your thing, sweetheart. And I drove 2 miles down the street, and all of the same issues that I was frustrated about at the federal level, I realized were happening right down the street. Lack of transparency, out of control spending, running up the debt, everything was happening right down the street. And so when you see this come to your own backyard, it really makes that darkness feel close to home. And I would just put out one word of encouragement for anybody that's watching is, in Psalms 23, right? We all know Psalms 23, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because he is with me. And as believers, we focus on the "for he is with me" part. And that's an incredibly important part to focus on. But what another important piece of that is, what's the valley called? It's not called the valley of death. It's called the valley of the shadow of death. And what we know is that shadows, while they're terrifying and while they can make things look bigger than they are and scarier than they are, they can't hurt us. And so we have to be lights in that darkness. We have to keep pushing forward for truth, and we have to make sure that we have our eye fixed on the prize, because at the end of the day, this isn't about us. This isn't about me as a legislator. This isn't about my colleagues. This isn't about the people who fought in the Senate to make sure that this thing happened. And that's good people like Senator Warren Peterson and Senate President Fan, who have literally drugged this thing through the political minutia to get it done. This isn't about any of us. This is about the people that we represent and ensuring that they can have confidence in not only the greatest nation in the history of the world, but also in the process that we use to elect our leaders. And that's something that we have to fight for.
Amen. Amen. That was beautifully said, Jake, really. I don't want to change the subject, but I want to mention that on Monday in Antrim County, Michigan, there's going to be a rally at the Antrim County building, and there will be a lot of patriots up there. I don't know how many yet. I'm guessing hundreds of people will show up for it, that are going to be encouraging the judge to continue the case up there. On Tuesday, he'll be deciding if he's going to allow the case to continue or he's going to end the case up there. And there's been an awful lot of interference when you talk about dirty Secretary of State from our dirty Secretary of State to shut this voter fraud investigation down. And Matt DePerno, who's an amazing hero here in Michigan, who's been fighting this case pretty much by himself, is going to be, he's in the fight of his life, and he's going to be fighting hard on Tuesday. So I just wanted to point out that when you talk about everyday people, this is an opportunity for everyday people in Michigan to come together and show their support for Matt DePerno and the hard work he's done to uncover the voter fraud here in Michigan, especially up in Antrim County, and encourage anybody who can make it there to make it to the Antrim County county offices, because there will be a pretty good sized protest there, and we'll be covering it live for Gateway Pundit and for 100% Fed Up. But these are the things that are important. Citizens need to show their support for those that are fighting, like you are, Jake. There are a lot of people out there that support you, and people need to show their support for you. I'm sure you get a lot of negativity from the media. It's important for everyday people to show their support for the people that are in this fight for them, right? I see you laughing, so I'm sure that you're aware of the negativity that you face out there.
Oh yeah. No, the names that we all get called and that I've been called from the left. I'm telling you, I'm just gonna start making T-shirts with the names on it. I mean, that's how far-fetched they get now. So
wow. Well, Patty, I love that you're doing a prayer rally on Monday. in Antrim County. And Jake, I loved your words, giving people hope. And that's really what we need right now. I think, we see that there's a huge chance that the Biden Department of Justice may come in and shut this down. There's always a threat of that. There's, several things that could go wrong. And yet this seems to, move ahead. And I think a lot of that is because we are up against, do I dare say evil, and I think that really we need the prayers as much as anything. And I'm not a really, spiritual Bible beater. I'm just not, and I have nothing against that, and I support it. But this is what we need right now. This is where we are as a country. So I really support what you said, what Patty, her actions are. And Patty's just a warrior, so
well,
anyway.
Thanks. And look, this is one of those things where, Arizona still has a little bit of that Wild West mentality out here. And so, we're willing to go to bat and to drudge through it to make sure that we get it done. But we need legislatures in other states to step up and do the exact same thing to make sure that they are, conducting an audit. Honestly, I think every state should be conducting an audit, not because something did or didn't, but because you have to know. You have to be able to deconstruct. And when was the last time that in our election system, we had numerous states actually go through and do a deep dive on what occurred in their election? I mean, quite honestly, this seems like good policy every decade or every, 4 election cycles or something. States should be doing this. And on the heels of 2020, I would just, make the comment that it's even increasingly more important because it was called into question, right? And not just by, a few people, not by a few bad apples as the left would kind of have you believe. It was called into question by tens of millions of Americans. That's not a small thing. And so every state legislature, I would encourage my friends in Texas to do it, my friends in Nevada, in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. If you have a Republican legislature, step up and do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we do have a Republican legislature here, and it's just filled with cowards. They just are, with the exception of maybe Matt Maddock and a few others, it's filled with cowards, and we can't seem to get them to do anything with the subpoenas, the information they've gotten from the subpoenas. And really this fight is all on the back, like I said, of Matt DePerno and and the plaintiff, Bill Bailey, who didn't vote in the last election because he doesn't have faith in elections anymore. And we don't want Americans to go down that road where they're not voting in elections anymore because they've lost faith. And we on our 100% Fed Up Facebook page, we hear from literally thousands of people who say that they're not going to vote again. And that's we don't want that to happen. We have to get to the bottom of what happened in these elections and fix it so that people have faith in our elections.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, I think we can, I hope that you keep us, informed with what's going on. There's a lot going on there. The next few days are very important in Arizona, and it's just unbelievable what's happening. And I really want to congratulate you, honor you, because you have just done phenomenal work there. And thanks for coming on with us. And Patty, thank you. I don't know if
Absolutely.
you have some parting words.
Well, Jim, I'll just tell you, I wanted real quick just chime in and say it takes a team. And so I appreciate the accolades, but this is, like I said, Senator Peterson worked his butt off on this, Senate President Fan, Senator Mesnard, Senator Gowan, Senator Borelli, Senator Gray. I mean, we've got lots of people over there who are fighting for this. Here in the House, we've got lots of members, Representative Chaplick, Representative Parker, myself, Representative Kaiser, Representative Kavanaugh. I mean, literally, Representative Grantham, I would be remiss to leave him off. But we have had a tremendous number of people who take this very, very seriously, who are working hard on behalf of Arizonans. And so it absolutely takes a team.
Amen.
Great. And speaking of heroes, we'd like to thank Mike Lindell for sponsoring our podcast. He very generously has agreed to sponsor our podcasts, and he's another one. People need to support him, and that's one of the reasons why Jim and I are working with him, and we're asking people to go to him directly and purchase his products because he's been cut off by all the big box stores who have tried to cancel him. The media has tried to destroy him. I mean, there are a few people that are taking the arrows like Mike Lindell. So for anybody out there who's watching this and wants to support another real hero who's fighting for election integrity, please go to MyPillow and purchase his products, and you get up to 66% off with the 100 GP code at checkout. So it's a great deal in addition to supporting an American hero and patriot.
All right. So thank you, Jake. We hope to talk
Thank
to
you guys for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Jake. I hope to stay in touch with you.
Will do.
All right.
Welcome to Sleepyville, where no one sleeps deeply. The pillows are bad and the sheets are made cheaply. But there is one family in the Sleepyville town that uses my pillow for the best sleep around. My pillows are adjustable for proper alignment, and the Giza sheets breathe so they feel no confinement. So order my pillow for great sleep refinement.
Why are they so chipper?
Their co-workers wondered.
So much energy and zest, like they've had the best slumber.
And when they peeked in the window, the secret was clear. My pillow sheets, pillows, and mattress toppers appeared. My pillow is breathable and lasts more than 10 years. It's washable and dryable and was manufactured right here. Giza cotton is what makes the softest of sheets, and the mattress topper helps support pressure points for deep, dreamy sleep. So click the link below to stop counting sheep.
We want my pillow.
The citizens of Sleepyville cried, but they didn't realize the family had a surprise inside. They were all given a My Pillow to keep. We spend a third of our life snoozing, so let's make it quality sleep.
I got towels too.
And mine are blue.
So welcome to My Pillowville, where everyone sleeps on the pillows that align and the softest of sheets. With the support of the mattress topper, the people snooze deep and wake up well rested, and their deadlines they keep. So if your bed feels like rocks and your sheets feel like Brillo, you need better sleep, which means you need My Pillow. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, click the button. I'm tired of rhyming, so please click it and save me. Please, I can't rhyme anymore. Just click that link. Stop watching this and click the link to get the best sleep of your life.